Secretary Llamas, thank you very much again for joining us. Of course, as of the moment we're recording this is the anniversary of the tragic passing of former DILG Secretary and Star Mayor Jesse Robredo. Of course, you were both in the same cabinet. You both work in the Aquino administration. Can we start first in terms of like your personal interaction? What stories, well, you're comfortable to share? I mean, based on your interaction with him, and then a little bit, let's talk about, was he really as good as people were mentioning? Because I see all of these academic studies about the Naga model by Thai academics, by foreign academics. So what was going on there? Is he the best president we never had in some ways, at least based on the pool of available talent we have had so far?
Yes, I agree with you, Richard. No? He could have been the future of Philippine politics kung hindi siya namatay. No? Nakilala ko siya from a distance nung mayor siya. Pero even then, I was impressed. Hindi dahil siya isa siyang pie in the sky idealist. No? Siya ay isang magaling na mayor who manages things and at the same time in a very principled manner. Hindi ganun karami yan. No? Ibig sabihin, meron siyang political skills to defeat the most powerful family dun sa kanyang lugar, the Villafuerte, na legendary in their political power. No? Pero tinalo niya. No? At hindi lang yon, naging example yung Naga, no, of what a city could be. Diba? Yun yung mahalaga itong ganitong klaseng mga halimbawa. At ang kanya naging symbol, no, ay yung tsinelas. Diba? Na to make his model very approachable. Pero pwede kasing maganda yung modelo mo, pero hindi makarelate yung mga tao. Kaya ang ginawa niya, nag-create siya ng simbolo. Yung tsinelas, na dapat yung mayor malapit sa tao. At isang simbolo na malapit siya, ay nagsusuot siya ng tsinelas katulad ng karaniwang tao. No? Hindi siya naka-Gucci, no, hindi siya naka-Ferragamo.
Oy, wag ganyan.
Katulad ni Richard de Darian, hindi ka naman mayor eh.
So, baka naman, magme-mayor ako, di ba? Mayor ng Baguio.
So maganda yung kanyang symbol. No? At kinakatawan niya yung ganyang klaseng breed, katulad ni Vico Soto, di ba? No? To some extent, katulad ni Mayor Magalong. No? Yan yung mga simbolo ng mga good governance. At sa ating bansa naman kasi, politics is local. Diba? Politics is local dahil diyan ka natetest eh. Diyan ka nasusubukan yung mga prinsipyo mo. All the temptations, all the threats, no? All the negative impulses, diyan nagsisimula. Kung masurvive mo yan with shining, flying colors, then pwede ka sa national. No? At yan sana yung naging example at naging narrative ni Jesse Robredo, no? Ang problema, siya ay pumanaw, no? Sa height ng kanyang political career. Pero mo para kang little president, ikaw ang head ng DILG, no? Marami ka sana na pwedeng naipakita. You could have been the standard bearer. Could have been, hindi ko sinasabi na siya nga. Pero he was meant for greater things, eh. Diba? Because of that track record, because of that tradition, because of that symbolism, no? Na medyo kapos na kapos yung ating political system. Di ba? Kulang na kulang ang yung Vico Soto. Eh. Kulang na kulang ang yung Jesse Robredo. Kaya pwedeng mag-gather sa kanya yung mga modern elements, yung mga progressive elements, yung mga reform elements ng ating lipunan, no? Para sagipin yung future ng ating bansa. Maganda sana ng labanan with yung paborito mong presidente, si Digong.
No, we're very fair too. Yeah, I mean, Battle of the Mayors, di ba, mangyayari nun, di ba? Naga model versus Davao model. That would have been something, right? Except DILG secretary din yung isa, except naka-travel around the world, except alam niya yung sinasabi niya, except we can go on and on and on, di ba? At except tuta ng, anyway.
Ang ganda nun, dito sa Davao, dito sa Makati, dito sa Naga, di ba? Ganda sa labanan nun.
This is what I felt kulang with the Robredo campaign, no? Na of course Lenny herself was not in charge when Jesse was in charge, but still, I mean, she's continuing the legacy. Although, of course, Lenny can talk about her own also role in a non-executive position when she was congresswoman, and then of course later as the vice president. But can we go back a little bit, Ronald? Was the appointment of Jesse Robredo something that made you feel less lonely? Because I mean, for all the good appointments that Aquino may have made, there were not many like you, no, na medyo more progressive, medyo to the left of the center, di ba? Did Jesse kind of make you feel less lonely? I mean, obviously he was a politician, given na yan, but clearly he was not your typical liberal mainstream politician, right?
Well, si Jesse plus two more in the cabinet, yung tingin ko na kindred spirit. No? Hindi ko na sasabihin yung dalawa pa dahil baka magselos yung iba na bakit hindi ko sila tinawag na kindred
yan ang
spirit.
mahirap. Pag pinoint out yung 10 magalit sa kaya apat kayo.
Tatlo yan na ang pakiramdam ko ay kindred spirit ko sa cabinet. No? Of course, including the president. So, isa doon sa tatlo, si Jesse. Dahil nakakausap mo siya ng pragmatism on how to get things done. Pero at the same time, very principled, very idealistic. So yan yung delicate balancing eh. Pag nasa center of power ka, no? Pag nandun ka sa dark corridors of power, will the dark dominate or will the light dominate? Ang nakita ko kay Jesse, yung balancing act, no? Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng masyado kang puro eh. Di ba hindi pwede yan because you have to get things done, no? At maraming kalaban ang gobyerno, no, na hindi mo makukuha sa workshop, no? Hindi mo makukuha sa dasalan. Kailangan mong i-pressure. Kailangan mong sabihan na mali ka, no? At hindi mo pwedeng pagpatuloy yan, no, sa ginagawa mo. Kung hindi, ay ikaw ay magiging kalaban namin. At ito yung ibig sabihin. So, ibig sabihin, si Jesse nababalanse yan. Wala siyang illusions, no, about the dark impulses in those dark corridors of power. Pero never niya binitawan yung light, no, yung positive elements, no. At nakakapanghinayang dahil hindi ganun karami yung katulad niya. Di ba? Hindi ganun karami yung ikaw, meron ka rin karanasan sa politika, hindi ganun karami yung tao na ganyan, ha? Yung nababalanse. No? Yung imperatives of power.
Insight to know, di ba, Ronald? Again, I see, Ronald, you're using your analyst hat, but for a moment, as Ronald Llamas, what were like some of the notable interactions you had with him? I have no idea about how extended. Did you have like proper conversation when you're in cabinet together under Pinoy? And was his appointment by Pinoy really about his merit, right? Because I know he's not a mainstream Liberal Party guy. He's not a card holding, you know what I'm saying? Hindi siya yung liberal.
Yes.
He just happened to, exactly.
He's somewhere in between people's organizations, no, mass movement, and a political party. Diba? He's somewhere in the liminal, no, in that boundary. Kaya na-harness niya yung both positive nung mass movement, at the same time, yung real politic ng local governance, ng LGU, di ba? Yun yung balancing niya. Na dinala niya sa national, sa DILG, di ba? Ang karanasan ko sa kanya, alam mo kasi, the Pinoy government, no, won on the promise of anti-corruption, no? So, hindi kami pwedeng mag-proceed lang without resolving some of the issues of the past, di ba? Hindi pwede yun eh. Actually, yun dapat gawin ni BBM. Hindi pwedeng kalimutan yung Parmali, di ba? Hindi pwedeng kalimutan yung mga major corruption na nangyari na siya ngayon ang nagbabayad, di ba? Yung almost 7 trillion in debt. Sana punta, kailangan niyang balikan yan. And kailangan heads should roll. No? Kami, naging part yan ng aming first year. Kailangan ipakita natin na seryoso tayo. Hindi lang to for election. At dyan mo makakasama si Jesse, di ba? Yung impeachment for the first time ng isang sitting Chief Justice. Yung arrest for the second time of a former president, no? Etc. No? Yan yung mga record ng first, second year ni Pinoy. To send the message na matakot kayo. Kayong mga corrupt, kayong may mga skeletons in the closet, hindi namin iiwanan yan na mabulok at mangamoy at madamay kami sa inyong infection. May gagawin kami, hindi namin kakalimutan. We will not forget. Doon mo makakasama si Jesse. No? Pwede kasi siyang forward-looking na lang eh. Kalimutan na yan eh. No? Yung path of least resistance. Di ba? Pwede naman gawin yan eh. Pero hindi pwede. Nagpromisa kami sa kampanya that we have to do something about the corruption of the past in order to move forward in the future. Doon ko nakasama si Jesse, among others. No, among others.
Ronald, what about personal interactions you had with him back in the day? Because usually, I mean, I'm quite familiar with, you know, people who are tough on the outside and parang strongman, and then ma-meet mo sa person, including your favorite president, Digong, di ba? Pag nakita mo in person, he's so nice, etc. But in public, palaban. And then you could also see some light versions, like, you know, like Rafi, right? Rafi's palaban and all. And then you see in person, charming, very nice, and all of that. Jesse Robredo obviously was nice even in public. Pero of course, we have also cases of nice in public and then, alam mo na, behind the scenes, you know, prima donna, ganun. How was Jesse? Was he as inviting and compassionate as he was?
Ang tingin ko sa kanya, siya yung classic na prom D. No, yung very relaxed sa mga meeting, no? Hindi highfalutin. Tapos may accent na probinsyano. Tapos with yung mga characteristics sa isang probinsyano, siya yung classic na prom D, no?
Good talaga.
More than Rocco. Dahil si Rocco, akara, no, lawyer, no, senator, etc. Si Juan parang galing talaga sa kalsada, no? Halimbawa, nung isang meeting ko sa DILG, no? Ako kasi coffee drinker ako eh. Pero mo ba naman, ang isinerve sa akin ni Jesse Robredo, 3-in-1 coffee.
Oy, wag kang ganyan.
Sabi ko,
sponsor natin yan. Sponsor natin.
Ikaw yung secretary ng DILG, ibibigay mo sa akin 3-in-1, no? Na-prom din. Sabi ko sa kanya, bibigyan kita ng coffee maker. Hindi naman mahal yan eh.
Aray! Ayan na naman yung Ferragamo mo, ha? Gucci mo.
Pagbalik ko rito, bigyan mo ako ng Barako coffee, na brewed, no, dun sa kwan. Hindi 3-in-1 na Nescafe, no? Pero doon makikita mo yung kanyang personality, yung kanyang character, di ba? Yung down to earth. Of course, medyo pinuna ko siya. Dahil coffee maker ako eh. Pag-isip ko sa umaga, Barako, iniinom ko. Tapos bibigyan mo
ako. Ayaw pala madaldal ka. Eh, di talaga, talkie. You know? Pero totoo na, yung kotse niya talaga tama raw FX22 or something, pambansang kotse, ganyan, mga Vios.
Oo.
Yung
naka-interact ko siya ng first 1-2 years. Yung one, hindi na masyado. Dahil marami na rin akong trabaho nun. Pero yung simula, no, yung binabanggit ko sa iyo na reckoning of the past, no, at saka itong mga small meetings sa DILG. Yun nga, parang sinasabi mo kasi concrete experience. Yun ang concrete experience ko. Probinsyano talaga, prompty talaga, at saka yung kanyang accent, at saka yung kanyang tono, at saka yung kanyang mga gestures. No? Hindi ito yung mga sophisticated na nakakausap ni Richard Reynaldo sa mga embassies, sa mga diplomatic functions, sa mga...
Kung saan nagme-meet tayo, just to be clear.
Pero, no, almost a little president, DILG, di ba? Kaharap mo lahat ng warlords, lahat ng drug lords, lahat ng wedding lords, lahat ng lords. Kaharap mo dyan, no? Pero he was able to hold his own. No? Kaharap mo yung lahat ng mga ninja cops, no? Kaharap mo eh. Tapos ang bayit-bayit mo, kailangan mong mag-survive. Ibig sabihin, kailangan mo ng political skills. Hindi lang prinsipyo, no? Dahil kaharap mo lahat ng lords. But he was able to do it. Sayang, ang aga niyang nawala. Diba?
So, not only he had virtue, he also had virtu. No, I mean, to be a bit Machiavelli about it. He had that political skill, the sense of opportunities, challenges, how to navigate. Again, which makes it very, very special. No, now, Ronald, I'll put you on the spot just because you can expect.
You always put me in the spot.
No. What do you say about all the nonsense conspiracy theories about the circumstances, of course? I mean, I know this is a sensitive topic. Even ako, hindi ako pumatol sa issue na yan.
It's not true because yung pinuntahan
just
niya...
to get rid of that. Yeah, just to clear the air. Yeah,
yung pinuntahan niya na CIDG, kasama dapat ako ron eh. No? We have the same plane ticket sa Cebu Pacific. Pero last minute, masama yung pakiramdam ko, no? Sinabi ko to sa head ng CIDG, no? Na hindi ako makakapunta. So, ang pumunta si Jesse Robredo representing the president. Hindi kasi makapunta si Pinoy. No? So, pumunta si Jesse. So, meron siyang ticket sa Cebu Pacific.
Wait, Ronald, dapat kasama. Yeah. Oh, shoot.
Nang hinayang ako dahil ang regalo pala sa amin ay antique pistol. No, na naka-frame. Yung pala yung bibigay din sa mga guest speaker. Yun yung binigay kay Jesse at meron din sana ako. So, ibig sabihin, yung kanyang flight pabalik, dapat Cebu Pacific. Last minute, he decided, gusto niya humabol doon sa activity ng kanyang anak, no? Sa Bicol. Kaya nag-rent siya ng plane na hindi pa experience yung pilot. Diba? Yun yung, mahirap yun i-design na there was an assassination attempt.
Yeah, kasi masyadong spontaneous yung decision making. Exactly. Magulo yung planning. So, yeah, exactly.
Medyo spontaneous yun eh. Last minute, nag-decide siya, pupunta sa anak niya. Kahit meron siyang ticket, pabalik through Cebu Pacific. Na meron din ako at that time. No? At the same time. No? Dahil dalawa dapat kami na pupunta sa tapos, nag-survive yung kanyang gwardiya. Nakalutang, di ba? Yun
yeah.
Yan mga kanya mga circumstances na hindi napaplano.
No?
Kaya yun yung yan yung problema dyan na hindi totoo yun. No? Dahil ako personally involved. Alam ko yung nangyari.
Kaya nga, Ron, I wanted to ask you just to shut it down. Kaya if you notice, I never mentioned that issue, not either in writing or person, because I said I'd rather ask someone like you to just clear the air because you were almost there.
Ang problema, yung nakuha nila piloto, hindi pa experience. Dahil nagmamadali siya eh. Gusto niya mapuntahan yung activity. Dahil he is a good father eh. Di ba, mabait na tatay eh. Di ba? Yun yung gusto niyang makita yung kanyang anak doon sa isang performance. No? Ng kanyang anak. Imagine mo yun, di ba? Yun yung kanya. Yun yung gusto niyang gawin. And for that, he died. Sayang. No?
I mean, it's not like bago sa atin yung mga crashing of helicopters or small planes, diba? But yung military Black Hawk natin nag-crash din, diba? The other year, mga bago natin binili, diba? So unfortunately, medyo really, the circumstances.
Tapos wala, nag-crash, malapit na sa landing, diba? Hindi siya ganun kalayo, diba?
Kaya nag-survive yung isa.
Malapit lang sa landing site, no? Hindi ko alam kung na-overshoot or human error or what, no? At saka, sabihin, dahil nagtitipid siya, umarkila siya ng maliit na plane. Pwede siya nag-arkila na mas malaki, pwede siya nag-arkila ng chopper, di ba? Which is more expensive. Pero dahil na matipid siya, kinuha niya yung maliit na aeroplano. Ako, hindi ako sasakay na yun eh. Four-seater na aeroplano, no? Nakakakaba yun, di ba?
Yeah, yung turbulence niya, grabe,
Pero dahil mahal niya yung anak niya, gusto niya puntahan, kahit hindi planado, no? Ginawa niya. At dahil nagtitipid siya, kumuha siya ng not the best na airplane at the time, which is more expensive, more a chopper. Even yung kanyang pagkamatay, yung circumstances, no, tragically showed the kind of person that he was. Diba? Yun yung one. Sana hindi nangyari. Pero dahil nangyari, it also reflects kung anong klaseng tao siya.
Ronald, how devastating that was. I mean, I'm sure, all of you were shocked and all. I mean, to lose someone as big and as big-hearted as Jesse, and someone holding such an important position, DILG, no? And someone who could have easily been. Kasi nakita ko interview niya with Tito Boy Abunda, di ba? Na you could see na even the media was noticing this guy could be the next big one, right? Or at least the second next big one, no? How devastating was it to the administration, to Pinoy, to you? I mean, like, how are you feeling after this shocking event?
Meron na kaming isang trip at that time, ARMM, Autonomous Region of Mindanao. Kapausapin namin yung mga politicians, yung mga governors doon, no? Ang division of division of task, siya yung good cop, ako yung bad cop. No? Sa kanya kasi natural na maging good cop. Sa akin medyo natural na maging bad cop, as you know. so minsan pagkausap namin
Joker.
Pagkausap namin itong mga napaka-powerful. Siya yung good cop. Siya yung malumanay, no? Siya yung ano. Ako yung medyo gago.
but kung may good Machiavellian, may good gago. Di ba? Para may ganun, di ba? Yun yung role. No, thank you so much, Ronald. I don't know how many people have been have asked you about this, but I just felt you're the right person to talk to about also this issue among others, because of your personal experience in the government during this time, and your interaction with probably one of the best ever now to have worked in the government both locally and nationally. Now, speaking of yung situation ngayon, diba? Now Jesse was not around, so another mayor playing into that whole persona of Promdi and all captures power, and the devastation of the institutions, the impact on human rights, etc. All of that, we're still living with that. So having said that, I mean, what is your read on Marcos' record and trajectory on the human rights democracy front? In office. Second,
well, dramatically, significantly, nag-drop talaga yung mga EJK. Pero, meron pa rin. No? Ang sabi nga ng human rights groups, yung mga EJK na nangyari nitong 1 year ay more than 350. At kalahati niyan ay drug-related. No? Yung, for lack of a better term, yan yung dating pokhang. At inamin naman ni DILG Secretary Abalos na isang dahilan sa ganyang klaseng mga incidents ay dahil nagpapatuloy pa yung quota system. No? Imagine yung cynical term, quota system. Di ba? Na kailangan meron kayong...
traffic enforcement.
Kailangan meron kayong mapatay, makulong, na ganito karami, or else mapapagalitan kayo, or worse. No? Imagine mo, the highest cabinet minister in charge of the police admitting that there is a quota system, no? At dahil nagpapatuloy. Of course, dininay naman ni Corda. Pero the very fact na yung DILG secretary sinabi yan, there must be something, di ba? Ayun yung nangyari. Pero kailangan din naman natin, we have to give credit where credit is due. No? Ang layo naman talaga nung anti-drug campaign, anti-criminality campaign, ni Digong at saka ni BBM. Kailangan din naman natin partner. Pero kailangan din natin condemn yung mga incidents katulad dito kay Jemboy. No? Pero mo, alin na polis, sabay-sabay, pinatay yung kanilang camera, di ba? No? Sabay-sabay, baka maunawaan mo pa kung isa, pumatay. No? 6, sabay-sabay pinatay. Tapos, tumalon daw sa kwan. No? Tumalon sa tubig. Iba yung witnesses, iba yung mga sinasabi ng police, no? Yung mga kanila. At dito naaalala mo yung nangyari kay Kian de los Santos. Nakaka-celebrate lang ng kanyang death anniversary rin, di ba? Nung panahon ni Digong, yan ang lagi ko sinasabi sa mga rally, no? Remember Kian. Ano nakita mo yung video, di ba? Very graphic eh. Nung kinukuha siya ng mga police, di ba? Nung niyayakap siya ng mga police, drug siya. Anong sinasabi ni Kian? Pakawalan niyo na po ako. Tatapusin ko pa yung homework ko. Ibig sabihin talagang naiisip mo na ito ay kapatid mo. Ito ay kaibigan mo. Ito ay anak mo. No? Ang sinasabi niya, homework. Diba? Homework. Pakawalan niyo ako. Kaya Kian represents the thousands who were killed. Diba? Yun yung simbolo niya. Tapos ngayon may bago kang Jemboy. Nakita mo yung kanyang nanay, OFW, na kinulong, no? Dahil inabuso ng owner, tumakas, tapos nakulong, tapos nagpadala ng pera kay Jemboy to celebrate his birthday. Diba? Tapos ang inabutan, burol, bangkay. Imagine mo yung, hindi lang yung simpleng human drama. It is a reflection of our society na nagpapatuloy. No? Na lumala ng panahon ni Digong, pero hindi pa nawawala. Yun yung dapat nating maunawaan dito. Sabi nga ni Bishop Ambo David, no, kung hindi kayo magagalit dito, anong klaseng tao kayo? Di ba sabi ni yung head ng CDCP, no, kung hindi kayo, wala kayong sense of outrage sa nangyari kay Jemboy, anong klase kayong tao? No? Yan yung kwan. Kaya dapat magmarka yan eh. Kian del Santos, Jemboy, representing the thousands who died. Hindi natin alam eh. Sabi ng police, 7,000. Sabi ng human rights groups, more than 30,000. Ang mahalaga, they were in their thousands. And it is still continuing. Mismo ang DILG secretary, inamin na may quota. No, imagine that.
Ronald, going back to this issue, I mean, you know our common friend, si Leloy Claudio, right? He's not necessarily a religious type, no? Interestingly, even for someone as non-religious as him, to put it mildly, he raised the issue of moral crisis. That I mean, ilang taong nagprotesta dun sa mga EJKs na yan? I mean, the Kian de los Santos brought a few hundreds on the streets, right? But unfortunately, it was not the only case, right? Again, we're not here to judge, right? We don't want to judge. Who are we to judge? I understand that. But at the same time, do you feel that there was I had nights where no wondering like hindi ko na maintindihan yung sarili natin bayan, like what's going on here, right? And I know some friends who left the Philippines literally after the Kiandalusan, like they just gave up. Like what kind of country is gonna say, ay sorry na lang, casual ano lang, collateral damage na. Obviously you can easily say that if it doesn't involve your people, diba? I mean obviously lahat tayo galit sa drugs, we want to do something about it, but this is not the way. As I always say, you don't have to burn down the hen house to get a fried chicken, right? Only dumb people think that way, right? There's a proper way to make a fried chicken without killing all the hens and burning down the house. The same thing applies with public policy. Ikaw, Rona, I also know you're not necessarily a religious type. I mean, last time I checked, at least. But do you think we are grappling here with the moral crisis? Because I understand the contingency factor, right? Had Jesse Robredo had the opportunity in 2016, maybe we would have seen a different Philippines over the last 6 years, and probably not the Marcos Jr. as the president right now. Totally different trajectory, no? But it is what it is, and in a way, the Duterte era, diba they say power reveals, diba? But abuse of power also reveals who's willing to stand up to abuse of power and not, right? What do you feel about it? Because Ronald, I always hear the argument fear factor, but we also have fear factor in Russia. We also have fear factor in many Middle Eastern countries. We have fear, but millions came out, hundreds of thousands came out. These countries had revolution, right? I know a lot of these countries intimately. I studied their history. We see in completely authoritarian systems, millions coming out and protesting when they feel something really wrong is happening, no? And so how do you explain that? I know we're getting into the realm of morality and political culture and things like that, which are quite sensitive, but I just wanted to have this honest conversation with you because every time this issue of EJ case and Kian de los Santos, especially tragic case, comes out, it makes me feel emotionally, ambivalent, not in terms of what's wrong and right, but in terms of, but this happened in our own country, right? And there was no massive backlash, popularly speaking. So I don't know. What is your take on this, Ronald?
Revolution kasi is not a moment. Revolution and transformation is a very defining, tedious process. No? Ako, personally, I've experienced that for more than 40 years. No? I started when I was 16. Ngayon, 16 na ako. No? Ang mahalaga, Richard, sa mga tao katulad natin, na matagal nang lumalaban, in the midst of this, what does Lenin call it, moral crisis, no? Which is one of the foundations of the problems of our society. It's a cup half full, half empty. The cup half full, half full is that we should not give in to despair. Because in this historical evolution, there are moments when integrity won over cynicism. There were moments when hope won over despair. So we have to learn to count our blessings. No? Not every time. Pero yun yung point. Katulad ng ginagawa natin sa mga previous episodes mo. No? Kailangan natin tignan ano yung ating pagkakamali? Ano yung ating kahinaan? Ano yung ating kasalanan? Bakit nangyari ito? Pero at the same time, meron tayong role, no? Doon sa mga moments, no, when integrity won over cynicism. At because of that, sa dulo, kahit hindi karamihan, we should not give in, no, to despair. Diba? Kumbaga, we are not the masters of our fate. It's the people we serve. And for them, we have to deliver the message of hope. For the Kian de los Santos of this world. For the Gem Boys, no? Ito yung pa natin eh. Madaling ma-disillusion eh. Madaling maging ma-depress sa nangyayari. Dahil in the balance sheet, mas marami yung mga failures. Pero, wag nating maliitin yung mga victories. Halimbawa, yung sinasabi ko nung unang interview ko sa'yo, no? We lost last election, but you had 15, 16 million votes. You have 15, 16 million people. Most of them volunteers, most of them young, most of them not tainted by corruption. No? By this. Ito yung bibigyan mo ng pag-asa. Di ba? Sa kabila ng maraming mga kahinaan, maraming defeats, no? We have to count them. No? We have to count them. No? Ito nga yung pala. This is not entirely a defeat. 15, 16 million, most of them young people. No? 1 million, 1.2 million during the meeting de avance, staying there for 10 hours. No? Before that, knocking on doors. Ibig sabihin, may pag-asa. Di ba? May pag-asa. No? Titignan mo yung quality nito. Diyan dapat hindi mawala yung pag-asa ng mga progressives katulad natin. No? Kung yung mga traditional politician mawawala, okay lang. But something new has to be built, has to be born, has to rise up from this so-called defeat, which for me is also a victory. It's two-edged, di ba? Yun yung kaya ako, tingin ko yung aking next 10 years, diyan ko ilalagay. No? Tingin ko between 60 to 70, meron pa akong magagawa. Yun yung
I think behind me is that's El Filibusterismo, and this was the line essentially of Padre Florentino to Dying Simon, no? Work and suffer, right? The idea that you need to deserve independence. I mean, I think Rizal would have agreed with us. I mean, if you read the central argument of Rizal, I think Padre Florentino really embodies that, which is you're not gonna have, don't go for political miracles. They happen once in a while, but that shouldn't be the basis for you to be investing in nation building, right? You have to fight, especially when things don't seem to be working your way, especially when things are looking hopeless, because that's exactly when realize who are really committed, who are in this. But at the same time, it's not only about judgment. We're all going to make mistakes. I mean, all nations have had these difficult moments that we have gone through. It's not necessarily inevitable, but unfortunately, the Swedens and Norways of this world didn't come out of nowhere, right? They used to be Vikings, and they did horrible things to each other, and through constant mobilization, labor unions, the friends we have in places like Sweden, Germany, they have become the progressive country there. Yeah, I get very annoyed when I hear, kung sana Norway tayo or New Zealand nanalo si ganito ng elections. Well, we are not Norway and New Zealand, and we're never going to be Norway and New Zealand if whiny tayo and we just say leave the Philippines once hindi nanalo yung kandidato natin. It just doesn't work that way, right? Ronald, so how do we make people feel emotionally invested enough to fight the marathon and not just look at it as sprint? Because that's essentially what we're saying, right? In this sprint and politics, even when you get good leaders here and there, including Jesse Robredo, including Pinoy, some would say, etc., the reality is that they're also going to be questionable ones, sometimes more than often, diba? For structural political economy reasons. But how do you think we can best not only make people more invested, but also how do we win over or win back yung mga folks who were kind of late, went astray because the demagogic black magic, unfortunately, worked on many people. And kahapon lang pauwi na ako, and I was hearing people complaining about BBM, and apparently parang si Digong ang gusto niyang bumalik, diba? Because si Digong relatable, ganyan-ganyan. If only politics was about relatability and being funny, right? Even though I find a lot of his jokes funny, I was laughing at him rather than laughing with him. But you get what I'm saying, Ronald. This is also a cultural issue, right? I mean, we have to appreciate the unique attributes of Filipino humor, Filipino survival skills, discarte, etc. If we really want to, and also forgiveness and compassion, the Catholic spirit. Again, I know that I'm not talking to the most religious person perhaps in the room, but I think ethically and morally we all share the same universe more or less here.
Actually, that's part of it. It's a lot of parallel efforts in gagawin. It's not just one track, diba? It's not just one track. Pero, halimbawa, nung napatay si Kian de los Santos, ang unang response ni Digong, ay walang anomaly na nangyari dyan. tama yung ginawa, tama yung pagpatay. Bumaba ang approval rating ni Digong by 12%. No? Yung Teflon president, tinamaan because of that. Dahil napaka-compelling
the
yung
only time,
video.
no? That's really the only time we saw that double.
That's the only time bumaba siya, 11-12%. Dahil napaka-compelling yung video. No, pauwiin niyo na po ako, gagawin ko pa yung homework ko. Diba? That was very compelling. Ibig sabihin, no, mayroong signs of hope no? Even in a very tragic situation like this, no? Yan yung ang problema sa atin, hindi natin masustain. Nangyari yung EDSA and then we went home. We shouldn't go home, no? We should man the barricades perpetually, no? Because others will attack those barricades, no? Yun yung isang matutunan natin as progressives, no? Huwag magpahinga. It is a constant battle, no? So yun yung isang lesson. Ikalawa, understand our people. Minsan kasi napakalayo natin sa kanila. We don't understand. Diyan lumalabas yung ating judgmental attitude, no? Na bobo sila, na sila ay tuwag, no? Na sila ay walang ethics, no, etc. We have to understand why. Because hindi naman sila pinanganak overnight. Hindi yan nangyari overnight, no? It's several generations, no, na nag-atrophy yung kanilang moral moorings. And we are all partly to blame. So we have to understand that rather than judging that. So we will know where we will start to change that moral crisis na tinatawag ni Lenoy. Kailangan nating maunawaan yan. No? Yung, tapos ikatlo, kailangan natin ng mga pinag-uusapan natin kanina. Mga Jesse Robredo. No? Kailangan natin ng mga Vico Soto. Kailangan natin ng mga Risa Hontiveros. Kailangan natin ng mas maraming ganyan. Dahil meron Ang problema, hindi na po project. Diba? Pero meron No? So, paano natin naayusin yung kanilang narrative? Paano natin naayusin yung kanilang strategy? No? Sino yung bad cop? Sino yung good cop? Natutulong sa kanila. No? Doon sa kwan. Samahan mo na lang ako doon sa bad cop. Para may kasama naman ako.
So, what makes you think I'm the right guy for that? Excuse me.
So maraming pwedeng gawin no? At kukulangin ng several episodes mo to explain that. No? It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Kaya kailangan talaga natin yung conversation. Thank you very much, Ronald. Because we want to do another episode, last episode that is for today, which is, let's talk about a little bit about scammy stuff, scammy promises, or literally some accused of scammer, si Jay Sonza. Pag-usapan natin yan, and also yung presyo ng bigas, ekonomiya, etc. Pag-usapan po natin yan in another short episode. Thank you so much, Ronald. I think this episode's medyo lumabas yung the emotions behind what we do. I think people just see us as being this, feeling smart guys talking about politics. But I hope people realize there's a lot of emotions behind what we do. Kaya nga may pakaya kami sa politika, because we know we can do better, and because we don't want to close our eyes to possibilities, good possibilities for the country. And as tragic as things have been, you're absolutely right. It's about working, suffering, keep on pushing until we get the kind of changes that we deserve, not only want, but we should deserve this. As Dostoevsky put it, sorry, going a little bit Jordan Peterson-ish on that.
My favorite.
Yeah, we have to be worthy of our suffering. Right? I mean, It takes a Russian to say that, but we have to be worthy of the suffering, right? Or make your suffering worth it, I would rather say in the Pinoy, right? Sayang kasi yung mga in-effort natin, it's a one, it's a dos, whatever, or it's a tres for some of our kababayan, so we're not happy with Arroyo. Let's make this count. Let's make this count. Sayang talaga. Thank you so much, Ronald. Talk to you soon.
Maraming salamat, Richard. Anytime. No?